everything you always wanted to know about Engelbert Humperdinck, but were afraid to ask.
Dean Martin, the man the world called the King of Cool. A voice that could melt hearts, a smile that could light up any room, and a stage presence that made him unforgettable.
Drink? Now, this is only a gag. I don't drink anymore. I freeze it now and I eat it like a popsicle.
But behind the effortless charm and the glamorous Rat Pack lifestyle, there was a side of Dean Martin the public rarely saw, one filled with heartbreak, loss, and shocking truths that only his children would later reveal. And what they confessed about their father's private life changes everything we thought we knew about him. So what was the real story of Dean Martin, the legendary crooner of Everybody Loves Somebody and That's Amore? Stick with me, because the truth is far more emotional and more surprising than fans ever imagined. The rise of a legend. Dean Martin was born Dino Paul Crocetti in 1917, in the steel town of Steubenville, Ohio, the son of Italian immigrants. He spoke only Italian until he was 5 years old, something that made him a target for bullying. By the age of 16, he dropped out of school. His father wanted him to become a barber, but Dino had other dreams. Before fame, he tried everything, working as a gas station attendant, a blackjack dealer, even a professional boxer. But after taking a brutal punch in the ring, he turned to the one thing that always made him stand out, his voice. Singing in smoky Ohio nightclubs, he caught the attention of bandleaders who encouraged him to pursue music full-time. By 1938, calling himself Dino Martini, he was touring the country, but eventually, he shortened his name to something the world would never forget, Dean Martin. What nobody realized then was that Dean wasn't just creating a stage name, he was building an entire persona. The broken nose from his boxing days? He had it fixed. The whiskey glass always in hand? Often filled with apple juice, not alcohol. From the very beginning, Dean Martin was crafting the image of the man the world would come to adore. The duo that changed everything. Dean's life took a turn in 1946 when he met a young comedian named Jerry Lewis. Together, they became an unstoppable duo, with Lewis' wild antics perfectly balanced by Martin's smooth charm. For a decade, they dominated nightclubs, television, and film, starring in 16 movies together. But behind the laughter, tensions grew. Dean felt overshadowed, believing Jerry had too much control. By 1956, the partnership exploded. Their final show ended in silence, and the two didn't speak for 20 years. But here's the twist: tragedy would eventually bring them back together. The Rat Pack, the King of Cool. Breaking away from Jerry Lewis, Dean found his own spotlight. He became a founding member of the legendary Rat Pack alongside Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and others. On stage, they were the kings of Las Vegas, oozing charm, cracking jokes, and living the kind of life fans could only dream about. But was it all real? Not exactly. While Sinatra and the others stayed out all night, Dean was often the first to leave the party. Comedians who knew him said the drunk act was just that, an act. His slurred speech? Carefully rehearsed. His drink of choice? Often nothing stronger than apple juice. Until life touched him in the most painful way. A father's heartbreak. Though adored by millions, Dean Martin was at his core a family man. He had 7 children across 2 marriages, and despite his Rat Pack reputation, he loved spending time at home. His daughter Deanna remembered family outings with Sinatra's kids, where the famous entertainers were simply Dad and Uncle Frank. But in 1987, Dean's world shattered. His son, Dean Paul Martin Jr., an Air National Guard pilot, died tragically when his plane crashed during a training exercise. The loss devastated Dean. Friends say he was never the same again. For years, he had built a career on making people laugh, on looking cool and carefree. But after his son's death, the mask slipped. He withdrew from the spotlight, drank more heavily, and even his bond with Sinatra suffered. The man who once commanded stages around the world now lived quietly, nursing a broken heart. And yet, even in grief, Dean Martin remained a symbol of effortless grace. Behind the cool exterior, fans often wondered, was Dean Martin really the smooth, carefree guy he appeared to be? His children later revealed a surprising truth. He wasn't much of a reader, he famously only ever read one book, Black Beauty, but he devoured comic books well into adulthood. He idolized Batman's creator, Bob Kane, and even starred in his own comic series with Jerry Lewis. And while Elvis Presley was crowned the king of rock and roll, even Elvis admitted that Dean Martin was his true idol. At one concert, Elvis performed "Everybody Loves Somebody" in front of Dean himself, a moment he never forgot. Elvis would later tell Dean's daughter, "They call me the king of rock and roll, but your dad is the king of cool." It was a title Dean carried to the very end, the final curtain. In 1993, Dean was diagnosed with lung cancer. He quietly stepped away from performing and spent his final years living privately in Los Angeles. On Christmas Day, 1995, Dean Martin passed away at the age of 78. Las Vegas, the city he helped define, honored him by dimming the lights along the Strip. And Frank Sinatra, his closest friend and sometimes rival, summed up their bond with heartbreaking simplicity. "Dean was like the air I breathe. He was my brother, not by blood, but by choice." Dean Martin's life was a mix of glitz and grief, laughter and loss, public adoration and private pain. He may have played the part of the carefree crooner, but behind the smile was a man who knew both the heights of stardom and the depths of heartbreak. And maybe that's why his legacy still resonates today. Because Dean Martin wasn't just the king of cool, he was proof that even legends carry burdens we'll never fully see. So what do you think? Was Dean Martin's greatest performance on stage, or was it the role he played in real life? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective.